TV, certainly the best.
Certainly the best.
Good evening and welcome to Voices of Freedom. I am Stephanie Notoriwa. Tonight we confront a topic that pierces the heart of our humanity: child molestation. It is a crime often buried under silence, disguised by culture and protected by shame. But behind every silence lies a story, a child's cry unheard, a wound unseen, a life forever changed. One of those stories belonged to a little girl from Benue State, a girl named Ochanya Elizabeth Ogbanje. Her name has become a haunting reminder of what happens when a society looks away. At just 13 years old, Ochanya's life ended, not because of illness or accident, but because of years of sexual abuse at the hands of those she trusted most: her uncle, a lecturer; his son, a student; 2 men, 1 child, a horror hidden in plain sight. And while Ochanya's story broke headlines years ago, her voice still cries out for justice and for all the children who continue to suffer in silence. Tonight, we tell our story, and through it, the stories of thousands like her. We ask, how did we get here? Why does it continue to happen? And what must be done to stop it? Because silence is not protection. Silence is complexity. As we begin tonight's story, I ask you not just to listen, but to feel, to imagine, to remember that every statistic has a name, a face, and a childhood stolen from its times. Stay with us as we revisit the story of Ochanya, a name that must never fade. In a quiet village in Benue State lived a girl named Ochanya Elizabeth Ogbanje, bright-eyed, curious, and full of life. Her parents, like many Nigerian families, dreamed of a better life for her, so they sent her to live with relatives in Makurdi, where she could attend a good school. It was supposed to be an act of love. Instead, it became the beginning of a nightmare. Inside that home, a secret grew, one too heavy for a child to carry. For years, Ochanya was sexually abused by her uncle, Andrew Ogbuja, and his son, Victor. She kept quiet, not because she didn't know it was wrong, but because she was afraid of not being believed, afraid of bringing shame, afraid of being blamed.
2013, when I was 5 years old, I went to my mother's sister's house to school, because there was no school in my village. So when I went there, when I was 8, the son started sleeping with me. Then when the sister caught him, the sister then reported him to the father. Then the father scolded at him, and that was when the father started. So September, when I went to school, I was not feeling fine, so I came back home. I went to Federal Medical Center in Makurdi here. I spent 2 months and 5 days there, so they discharged us. When I now came home, then that was when I told my mother that when I was in my uncle's house, my uncle and his son, they were sleeping with me.
Like many victims, she was trapped by fear and silence. The abuse continued until her body could no longer bear the pain. She developed vesicovaginal fistula, a tear caused by severe trauma that left her inconsistent, sick, and in agony. When she was finally taken to the hospital, doctors discovered the truth. She told them everything. For the first time, she found her voice. But it was too late. On October 7, 2018, Ochanya died. She died, but her voice lived on. Nigerians took to the streets and to social media demanding justice. The hashtag Justice for Ochanya became a national outcry. Activists, lawyers, and citizens united, not just for Ochanya, but for every child who had been hurt and silenced. But justice in Nigeria moves slowly. Our alleged abusers faced trial. The son fled. The father was acquitted. The woman who failed to protect her was jailed for only few months. 5 months for 5 years of suffering, a sentence that marked the meaning of justice. And so, once again, silence began to return.
We understand from what we heard, this child has been molested since she was 9, but the case never got to us until she was very, very sick. But even then, the wife of the state governor, Dr. Mrs. Eunice Otom, through her pet project, Unit Spring of Life, took over the medical bills. She took over everything concerning the bills in the hospital. But then, when she died, His Excellency was on 10 days vacation in China. But when he heard, he insisted that government be represented at the burial, and I was the person that represented the government. And I passed on the governor's message to the people, and one of which was that the school, the primary school, which happened to be very close to where Ochanya was buried, in fact, directly opposite to the house where she was buried, the government directed that the school, that she be immortalized and the school be named after her, and that the school will be upgraded to such a standard that it will be more functional than it is now. And also directed that the Ministry of Justice, the Attorney General of the state, take over the case and to make sure that justice is administered.
The rape or defilement of minors in our society is becoming so rampant and on the increase now. So my advice to parents is that parents should be careful pursuing money and leaving the first assignment they're giving to as parents to nurture these young ones they brought to the world. You know, mother and father cannot be rushing out early in the morning and coming back very late, all in the name of pursuing money and the detriment or at the detriment of their children. If you make the whole money in this world and you don't have anybody that will take after you or live after you, that the people can say, yes, that is the daughter or the son of so and so person, you have achieved nothing on this end. The parents have a lot of, or the family have a lot of a part to play, because most of the evidence are with them. They are the ones to say, yes, our daughter has been raped, and we have evidence to say, especially if we don't get to know about it on time. So sometimes you find out that in between the whole thing, the family disappears. And when they disappear with the evidence they're supposed to give, what do we do? You know, so sometimes we lose out in that manner when we cannot continue the case again. We have some of them on hand now that you call and call and call. The family members are not ready to cooperate with FIDA so that we can get to the end of those such matters.
Then when children report, now I'll tell you a scenario using the FCT situation where the Child Rights Act and Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act are currently justiciable. Do you know that if a child gets raped in Abuja today, the child is expected to foot the child's transportation to go to police and open a file, which is usually, on the average, cost 2,000 naira. Then the same child will go to the hospital to take medicals to ascertain a baseline to know exactly what happened, how the condition of the child, you know, if it corroborates with the story. The child will pay for that. Then the child is expected to pay for the medicals of the rapist or the rapists of the child. Then the same child is supposed to pay for police to go and invite whoever is doing all of this, and then pay for everything that has to do with investigation of the case. Then should the matter be minuted to legal to proceed to court, the child is expected to pay for appearance of the police prosecutor every time the police prosecutor turns up in court. This is terrible. Then should the court choose to remand whoever the alleged person is in prison, do you know that the child is expected to figure out how to get money and pay the prison officials who usually have their vehicles on the premises, at least 5,000 naira, to take the people, you know, to prison? Now, in practice, in theory, we have wonderful laws that exist. But in practice, we don't implement these laws, and we don't have support structures to support people who report. They say people don't report. It's a big lie. People have been reported, and the systems are not there.
Until recently, when Nigerians reignited the call to reopen a case to demand that the story not end where corruption, demand that the story will not end where corruption neglects left it. Ochaya's story is not an isolated tragedy. Across Nigeria, thousands of children suffer sexual abuse every year, often by relatives, teachers, or people they trust. Yet, most cases never reach the police. Families hide the shame, communities stay silent, institutions fail to act, and the children, the innocents, are left carrying scars that never fade. The trauma of child molestation goes beyond the physical. It destroys confidence, it plants fear, it breeds depression, it creates adults who struggle to love, to trust, to feel safe again. And in societies where silence is mistaken for dignity, predators thrive in darkness. But there is hope. Every time we tell these stories, we chip away that silence. We make it harder for predators to hide. We remind victims that they are not alone, because justice begins with awareness and freedom begins with truth.
1 in every 4 girls and 1 in every 10 boys will face some form of sexual violence before they turn 18 in Nigeria, and our government isn't doing anything to prevent that. When we build a nation as a broken children, they don't have anything to give to our nation anymore. They did not need to die. A government that does not monitor the welfare of its children is a government that is not building a future of its nation. And we must demand accountability of our government and justice for Ochaya and every child that has become a victim of sexual violence in Nigeria. We're demanding for justice. We're also demanding for greater social welfare accountability from our government. How can a child be born and until a child dies, you have no account of how the child is treated by society?
Until deterrents are available, there will be so many Ochayas, more and more in our society. So we need to do something about it. And the right way is to have the political will, pass laws that are stringent, and enforce those laws.
We want justice for Ochaya. Whoever stand or whoever is the will in the clog of progress in delivering justice for Ochaya is an injury to everybody alive. It's an injury to every girl child. The girl child must have right to education. The girl child must be protected. The girl child has dreams. She must be supported.
Most of us here are old students of the Federal Government Girls College, Boko, the school where the late Ochaya attended before her demise. We want justice, to let the Ministry of Justice know that we want justice for one of us.
You've heard our story, the story of a girl who trusted, who suffered, and who never saw justice. But Ochaya's story must not end with sorrows. It must become a call to protect, to educate, to act. Parents, speak to your children. Schools, teach boundaries and concepts. Communities, stop protecting predators. Justice must be louder than shame. Ochaya's name is more than a hashtag. It is a symbol of what happens when silence wins, and of what can happen when courage speaks. As long as we continue to tell our story, she will never be forgotten. This has been Voices of Freedom. I am Stephanie Notoriwa, and tonight we say protect the child, end the silence, demand justice. Until next time, stay blessed.
Certainly the best. Certainly the best.
Hello there, thank you for joining us on this special interview series on independent television. And I'm Sonny Duke Okosun. Our guest today on the program is the Ambassador of the European Union to Nigeria and ECOWAS. As a matter of fact, the Ambassador of the European Delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS, His Excellency Ambassador Gauthier Mignon. Thank you for obliging us your time.
Thank you very much for your kind invitation, sir.
Okay, how would you describe your presence in Benin so far? Is this your first time in Benin City?
Actually, it's my second time, but I came in a private visit the first time because I hadn't presented my credentials yet to Mr. President, so I could not engage officially by the time. So this time it's the first official visit. And I came really with an intention to see how, to review the cooperation we are having with Edo State and to try to see how we can scale it up. But I took the opportunity to visit yesterday to participate to a private preview of the Museum of West African Arts here in Edo State, which is a project I already saw last year when I came first to Benin City.
Also, so how would you describe the level of partnership between the European Union and, of course, Nigeria, and particularly Edo State?
Well, with Nigeria, the European Union, together with its member states and its development banks, what we call Team Europe, I think is the first partner, is Nigeria's first partner in many areas, in trade and investment in particular, and also in cooperation in many areas. And we have 730 million euros in grants for bilateral cooperation with Nigeria between 2041 and 2027, plus also sizable amounts of loans, subsidized loans. And with Edo State, we've had good cooperation in several areas. I'm thinking in particular of support to migration governance and support to stranded migrants returning to Nigeria, and many of them are from Edo State. And in the last few years, we supported more than 23,000 people to come back and reintegrate into their communities nationally, and many of them in Edo State, just to name an example. So we think we can do more in other areas. We're also working in digital economy, in renewable energy, and also in projects for communities. But I always come with states so important like Edo State with an idea of how to try to improve and strengthen what we are doing already.
All right. What is the policy thrust of the European Union in terms of opportunities for young people as it relates to education?
Well, for us, education is key, and young people are a cross-cutting priority in a country like Nigeria. So in all our projects, we integrate a dimension for young people and also for women. And in particular, as far as young people are concerned, we are funding a big national project called Nigeria Jubilee Fellowship Program. It's about helping young graduates to integrate into labor markets by funding a 12-month scholarship for having internships in medium and small size enterprises or public service to get a first professional experience, and this is something that we are now scaling up with the federal government. And we are also offering possibilities of studies in Europe, particularly through the Erasmus program. We have more than 100 Nigerians going every year to Europe to study a master in the framework of the Erasmus program.
All right. What is the policy thrust of the European Union in terms of opportunities for young people as it relates to education?
Well, for us, education is key, and young people are a cross-cutting priority in a country like Nigeria. So in all our projects, we integrate a dimension for young people and also for women. And in particular, as far as young people are concerned, we are funding a big national project called Nigeria Jubilee Fellowship Program. It's about helping young graduates to integrate into labor markets by funding a 12-month scholarship for having internships in medium and small size enterprises or public service to get a first professional experience, and this is something that we are now scaling up with the federal government. And we are also offering possibilities of studies in Europe, in particular through the Erasmus program. We have more than 100 Nigerians going every year to Europe to study a master in the framework of the Erasmus program in particular.
Fantastic. If you just join us, we have with us the ambassador of the European Commission delegation to Nigeria and Africa, who is in Edo State currently on a private visit, engaging him on a wide range of issues, looking at the partnership between the Commission and Nigeria, and particularly Edo State. Ambassador Migno, let me quickly take you on a trending issue in Nigeria right now, which has to do with violence, extremism, and the talk around genocide against Christians is gaining momentum across the world, particularly in the US and several other places. What's the Commission's perspectives on this issue, and what is the intention in terms of helping Nigeria to deal with banditry, Boko Haram, and all other extremism that we're seeing playing up in the country right now?
I think it's important not to exaggerate or oversimplify situations which are very complex in Nigeria in terms of violence and insecurity. Of course, it's a big concern for everybody, including for us. We are very much committed with freedom of religion and belief in particular, and of course, any attack against communities or individuals because of their religion must be condemned, unacceptable. But at the same time, we stand in solidarity with Nigeria, with the victims of the attacks, of course, and with the overwhelming majority of Nigerians who are willing to coexist peacefully beyond ethnic or religious differences. And so we stand in solidarity with Nigeria to fight the many drivers of violence and insecurity, and religion is only one of them. And we've been supporting Nigeria for many years through many projects of peace building, of de-radicalization, demobilization of former members of non-state armed groups, for instance. And we are ready to do more. The European Union some 12 years ago received the Nobel Prize for Peace. And so we always feel the necessity to be up to this great distinction that we received, to work on peace building, to work also and strengthen our relationship on security and defense with Nigeria, but in a spirit of partnership and of respect for Nigeria's sovereignty.
Fantastic. You're here specifically because of the Museum of West African Arts, MOA, which of course was launched just a few days ago. But what's your take on the current issues surrounding the Museum of West African Arts, particularly against the background of some of the things that happened there, during the inauguration of the center? You were there.
I was there. It was not an inauguration of the museum, actually. Okay. It was just a private preview, because the organizer, I think very wisely, decided, as there were some criticisms, to postpone the formal inauguration of the museum. They announced this already a few days ago. And so yesterday was just a private preview for partners, friends, diplomats like myself and other European ambassadors. The EU has no direct involvement in this project. We are not funding this project. We might do it in the future, because we want to partner more with museums and cultural institutions in West Africa and Nigeria, but we have no direct involvement so far. So I came here really to see the advancement of this very wonderful project I discovered last year when I came first, which is a great opportunity for Edo State, for Nigeria, and for West Africa. It's a West African museum. It's not about only Benin or Edo State or Nigeria, even. It's West African. And I must say that the experience that we had yesterday was quite unpleasant and deplorable, because this private event on a private property was disrupted by so-called protesters who came in.
It's ITV.
Certainly the best.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's another lovely Wednesday afternoon, and it's my pleasure to say welcome to yet another amazing episode of Flipside on Independent Television, reaching you live from the city of Benin. Yes, I'm talking that city where the king is truly king. Now, I know there are persons that are joining us for the first time. Flipside is a unique show that tends to put a balance to issues by looking at them from different perspectives. You know, they say variety is the spice of life, right? You know, sometimes when you focus too much on one perspective to an issue, it becomes boring, you know. So the idea of Flipside is to take a look at topical issues from different angles, and that way we are able to strike a balance. My name is Harry Aigbo-J, and of course it's my pleasure to have you join me on this lovely episode of the show. Now today, we're discussing something that has to do with minors, basically, okay? A whole lot of, you know, they say children are the leaders of tomorrow, so it's very important that we examine issues that affect them. The topic of today's discourse is violence among school-aged children. Violence among school-aged children. Now, if you are an instructor or a teacher, I'm sure you must have noticed that certain kinds of children exhibit certain traits of violence. Okay, it's not as serious as the type that adults exhibit. Okay, of course you know they are kids. Okay, but it's still very much serious, because some children are more violent than others. Some children are naturally calm. They are naturally, you know, easygoing, less troublesome, less aggressive, and all. But there are some who just have this natural tendency to, you know, stir up trouble. It's not that they are bad. Let's get that straight first of all, okay? Because the fact that your child is violent or aggressive, I think that's a more passive word. Doesn't mean that the child is bad. It just means that the child is wired that way, perhaps as a result of certain circumstances. And those are the circumstances we intend to take a cursory look at on the show today. Now, I've got two powerful, two strong women in the house with me. They are not new faces. They happen to be teen coaches, okay? They are women who are passionate about young people, especially teenagers. Okay, one of them deals strictly with teenagers, while the other deals with, I think, children, maybe below the ages of, say, 15, 14, or thereabouts. Now, to my far left is someone who goes by the name of Mercy Onyo, and just like I said earlier, she is a teen coach. It's good to have you in the house, Mercy.
Thank you, Harry, for having me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and it's great to have you on the show. And of course, seated next to her is another team coach who goes by the name of Abigail Airobahi. Welcome on board, Abigail.
Thank you, Mr. Harry. Good
Okay.
afternoon, viewers.
Yes, good afternoon. And it is indeed an amazing feeling to be seated with two powerful women. I'm glad to be in your midst. Okay, so let's set the ball rolling. It's a very important topic that we're taking a look at. What are the most common forms of violence experienced by school-aged children? In what ways does violence manifest among school-aged children? Who would like to take the first shot? Abigail or Mercy?
Okay. All right. When we look at violence among school-aged children, you know, generally violence is understood as kind of intentional and aggressive behavior that
intentional.
Yes, is intentional. That is designed to cause harm or disrupt the learning environment and make others feel unsafe. Now, when we look at violence among school-aged children, it's talking about any form of aggressive behavior that occurs within the school environment, or maybe around the school environment. Even it may be when the children are in class, in the classroom, in the playground,
okay,
or maybe on their way home. And the types of violence within the school encompasses a range of, let's say, physical, psychological, and even sexual acts that is perpetrated by peers in and around the school environment. When we look at physical violence, it has to do with when children inflict physical pain
on other children?
On other children, like pushing,
okay,
eating, slapping. And sometimes if you're an educator, you realize that there are times that this behavior is common amongst children. So it now falls on teachers to educate. There should be rules and regulations in the classroom. For instance, you can tell the younger children, you can tell them, keep your hands to yourself. You don't use your hands to communicate, because there are some people, their hands is kind of faster than their mouth. So it now falls on, at home we have the parents talking to the children. Then in schools you have the teachers. So that's the duty of teachers to ensure that the environment, the learning environment is safe for the children. Then we also have psychological violence. When we talk about,
look at violence is psychological too.
Psychological violence, it has to do with cases that borders on abuse, verbal abuse, insulting someone, body shaming them, or it can also involve social exclusion or excluding someone from a gathering or from playing
a circle.
Yes, in a particular, being friends with a particular group. Then we also have bullying. Bullying is also a form of violence, because you cannot talk about violence without talking about bullying. Because when we look at bullying, it's like an unwanted, like an aggressive behavior that occurs, a pattern of behavior that is carried out against the victim, and is intentional. Is like something that occurs repeatedly. For you to say for you to classify an action as bullying, it has to be something that has, like, the perpetrator, the aggressor, keeps on doing that particular thing over time. Okay, so one thing about bullies is that they pick their victim. They usually go for children, children that they perceive as kind of weaker than them. So we have cyber bullying, that's kind of bullying that takes place on the internet, sharing of jokes, rude jokes about your classmates or about your friend, posting their pictures without their consent and stuff like that. Cyberbullying is also there. So these are some examples of violence that takes place within the school environment.
It's quite interesting to note that violence is way beyond physical. It could also be verbal, from what you've said so far. Okay, Mercy, I would like to know, how does exposure to violence, influence children's behavior in school?
Okay, I'll take it from Let me take it from the home front. Let me share this story of a boy called Shinedu. Very amazing boy. But from the house he comes from rather, the father and mother, they are always fighting. They are always quarreling, always at edge at each other. So the boy now pictures the, you know, children and human generally, we mirror what we see.
True.
Yeah. So that's foundation already. He sees the parents always at loggerhead at each other, shouting, even the silent treatment.
Even if the parents teach him otherwise?
Yes. Even if the parents are telling you, you are not supposed to be behaving like this, but what they are telling, they don't do it. Because, you know, some people express their frustrations differently. So when this child sees these things, and when you leave children to themselves like that, you don't process it with them like, sorry, I was, you know, I and daddy, we had issues. This is the reason.
Or better still, don't even quarrel in their presence in the first place.
Beautiful. Yeah. So you see, I've seen it firsthand, physically. I've seen it. I've come in contact with parents who go at each other in the presence of their children. And you see those children, they internalize those things. And before you know what is happening, when they go to school, that fear from the house is already there. They are not themselves. So when they get to school, you see them quiet. Any little thing, they want to respond, they respond aggressively. They respond shouting. They respond, you know, because of where they are coming from. They feel that is the right way to respond.
So they're already used to that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Okay, Abigail, you have anything to add to that, or you want to go the same line?
The exposure, you know, the home factor plays a huge role in child upbringing. Okay. You know, like child psychologists will tell you that they favor nurture more than nature. So I don't think that there's any child that is born to be problematic or that is born with that aggressive nature. You know, man at birth is a tabula rasa. Man is a clean slate. So most of the things most of our behavior, though we have our temperament, our personality, which is innate, but most of our behavior is something we learn from those around us. So a child that is growing in, let's say, a chaotic home environment, or a child that is growing up in a home where he or she is exposed to domestic violence or domestic abuse. Now, that child may not be the direct recipient of that abuse, in the sense that the child may not be the recipient. It may just be maybe the mother, the father is physically abusive towards the mother. Okay. That child is learning. Because children learn by what they see the adults around them do. So that child will go to school with that same behavior. So the child is learning that for you to solve a conflict, you know, there are different ways of managing conflict. They will feel that for you to solve a problem or to solve a conflict, you need to be aggressive. So that even little things can aggravate them, can trigger them. Okay, you took my pencil, you threw my book on the floor. Before you know, they will just raise them, because that's what they see. So a child that is growing up in a violent home environment or a conflict-driven home, most times will be given to aggressiveness.
So does that mean that children who are given to or who are used to dialogue as a means of solving problems are naturally going to move in that direction?
That's it. You can't give what you don't have.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to ask this too. To what extent does social media and online communities contribute to violent behavior among young people? Abigail.
Okay. Social media has a lot of contribution. You know, a lot of young people, in fact, the media in general, the media is a tool to communicate, is a tool to teach values. The media can be used as a tool to uphold or to reduce standards, that's moral values in the society. So there are things you can learn from the media, social media, television, music videos, both positive and negative, and children are not left out. Now, one of the ways children can be exposed is that when children children are exposed to negative content online, maybe content that promotes ideologies that's kind of promotes violence,
toxic ideologies.
Yes, toxic ideology, toxic masculinity, and stuff like that.
Femininity. Let's not forget that.
You said you forget that. Oh, good. So things like that, it can kind of bring about negative behavior in children. Now, studies have also established that children who are exposed to on-screen violence, like maybe the kind of movies they watch, the video games, most especially the kind of games they watch.
Because some games are violent
in
nature.
Yes, some games are violent in nature. You will see some children at home, they're always kind of physically abusive towards their siblings. You will see any little thing. Sometimes as a result of the media content that they consume. So children who are exposed to violent media content, either from social media or from television, video games or cartoon, most times they are prone to being aggressive. So I think parents also have a lot of role to play in kind of curbing or limiting the media content their children watch. Yes. Okay, there was one, there's this news, I think some months back, I saw this news on Facebook about a 12-year-old boy that used a baseball bat to hit his mom on the head because the mom told him to put his phone away, to stop playing on his phone. Now, there are two, the mom died, the woman died, she lost her life. There are two things I can deduce from that unfortunate, because it's an unfortunate incident, because I can't really imagine a child, a 12-year-old, in fact, a child at any age, you will raise your hands on your mother or on your parents. I cannot imagine that. Now, the first thing I would take from that is that it's possible that the parents, they enable that child. They don't limit screen time. You know, in fact, in as much as we want our children to learn, we want them to be as active, we want them to you understand, to be knowledgeable, to be experienced in life, and we hand them phones, okay? There are even times that parents are like, they are the architect of their own problem. There are times that parents give their children, underage children, phone as if the phone is a pacifier. You want to go and cook, your baby is crying, you will hand over phone.
And some of these kids are literally addicted to these devices.
They are now addicted. They are not kind of, they can't even do without any little thing. The child is crying, you give the child a phone to watch movies. And before you know it, that child is always on the phone. So in the case of that boy, it's possible that the mother doesn't limit screen time. He has the phone all to himself. And now you are not telling him, you have enabled him, and now you are not telling him to put the phone away. Like the message, the information is conflicting.
Contradictory.
It's conflicting. You have not been doing this, but maybe the mother heard from somewhere that, okay, this is how to raise the child, and she wants, fine, change is the only constant thing in life. But now the boy is used to this normal way. Even at 10 p.m., 11, he's on his phone. Even when it's bedtime, the boy is on the phone and you don't do anything about it. You just kind of, some parents are like, they enable their children so much. They give them free and to do things. Now you are not trying to tell the boy, put the phone away. In fact, I think that's the only thing that can give the boy that morale to do something like that, because you have been permitting it. So why can't you permit? Another thing that I can deduce from that incident is that it's possible that boy is exposed to violence media content. So some of the things, in fact, there was a time that some games children play on social media. They will tell them, go and do this, like kind of a truth and dare, something like that, and go and something like that. Slap somebody, eat your mother, slap, and something. There was a time that we had on social media, there were instances like that where children did something because a social media page or an influencer or a particular person they were following online told them to do it. So children that are exposed to toxic media content or violent media content most times are prone to being violent in nature.
All right, thank you so much, Abigail. Children that are exposed to violent materials are prone to violent behavior. Well, it's still Flipside on Independent Television, and today we're discussing violence among school-aged children. We shall be going on this break now, and when we return, the program continues. Please stay tuned. Violence among school-aged children. Now, right before we went on that break, Abigail was trying to explain how this violence manifests among young people. So, take it from there, Abigail.
Okay. Now, violence can manifest in various forms. No, the school, which used to be a safe place for learning,
a safe haven.
Yes, for learning and growth, is gradually becoming a place of violence and fear. In fact, in recent times, we've heard cases of children, even on their uniforms. You will see a student or a group of children bullying another student, and they will video it and upload the clip on the internet. You know, there are even some cases of parents. Some parents are even scared these days of sending their children to school because they don't want their children to become casualties. Sometimes when you hear some things happening...
Oh, it has gotten to
yes,
that point.
It has gotten to that point. No, sometimes when we teen coaches, teen mentors, we talk about these things, they will say we are blowing it out of proportion. Some days back, I think there was a disturbing news, though not in Nigeria, I think in the West, in the developed abroad, yeah, that a particular bullying incident where a child was killed, and while I was commenting on that post on social media, somebody made a comment and said that these things don't happen in Nigeria. It may be true that we don't have maybe cases like gun violence yeah, and knife crimes. It might not be prevalent here the way it is in the UK and the West, US, yeah, in the West, the way it is in the West. But the thing is that if we don't curb this issue of bullying, subtle acts of bullying, yeah, so violence, yeah, one day it will lead to what we think doesn't happen here. Because the fact that it doesn't happen here today doesn't mean it won't happen tomorrow. So we just have to be proactive. And even over there in the West, it started like this. Yes, it started like this because a child will do something. You will hear the parents say, leave him alone now, he's just a small boy. That's how it starts. You cannot caution your child. I've seen some children, they will eat an adult, and the parent will be there, the mother will be there, or the father will be there. Especially mothers. I know we mothers, sometimes we do this. They'll say, it's just a baby now. Or they'll say, that's how boys behave. Boys will be boys. You start to caution them from when they are little that their end is not a tool for them to speak, that they can actually verbalize what they want to say. It's not that they will not slap somebody first or eat their pets first before they pass across a message. The message or, yeah, the information that they want to pass across, or for them to be heard. Some children do that a lot. So, no, this issue of violence in schools is becoming a pandemic, and all ends needs to be on deck, the school, parents, even the government, so that this issue will be kind of reduced brought down to kind of the barest minimum. Thank you so much, Abigail. That was a brilliant analysis. Yes, please do. Yeah. Yes. You know, you mentioned something happened in the West. It's happening here in Benin. Yes. I know. It's just that it's not in the same, magnitude in which it's happening there. Yes. Yeah. There is this issue. I think some time ago, this mother, she reached out to us and she was crying. She said they had to relocate the son out of Benin City, out of Edo State, not just Benin City, because the child, he got to an estate that this particular student, there was a day in school, he hid inside ceiling so that those bullies will not see him to that extent. So, and when he got to, he couldn't tell the parents because they've already threatened him. If you talk, when he gets to school, they take his money, they take his food, his valuable every day. So that fear made him to be hiding away from those bullies. Yeah. So he got to the notice of, I think, one of the teachers, and drew the attention of the parents. So they were scared, and they told him they are going to kill him. They had to whisk him out of Edo State. So schools need and parents need to pay attention to their children. Because when your child comes back home and the child is not the way he used to, a child that is, playful, that is outspoken, a child that is, when you see that child, you know that this child is okay, but suddenly the child is becoming withdrawn, is acting strange, then you know that something is underneath. So we really need to pay attention to this
Menace. It's indeed a menace because just like Abigail said earlier, if it's not curbed early enough, it's going to become a monster that we're all going to be running helter-skelter from. Now let's examine the role that early childhood traumas play in shaping the minds of children, as regards going violent. Yeah, so yeah. What's your thought on that?
Yes, that's a very, very serious and critical aspect we should look at. Parents, it all boils down to parents in the home front. I tell parents that you can put away your pride and sacrifice. Let the house be peaceful. Let the home be peaceful for the sake of your children. Fine, they should already ask to come. When you keep on, fighting each other, the husband is beating the wife is beating the husband. There's a case of a child.
Wives beat husbands too.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
There is a case of this child that went to school and they asked them to write about their families. After that, the parents were not even aware. By the time the child, they sent for the parents, they sent a letter to the parents that come to the school.
Okay.
When they came to the school, and the teacher was telling them, the reason why I sent for you guys is, look at what your son wrote here. Write an essay. And your son just wrote, in my family, my mommy beats my daddy. Hmm. Yes. And so that thing, it has traumatized the child that he could not express, there is nothing he can say about his family.
Yeah.
So that's a very huge...
That was a child speaking from experience.
Yes. So please, parents, let's pay attention to the way we behave. Let's pay attention to the way we care for each other at home. I tell parents, the greatest gift you can give to your children is your love for one another. Let your children see that you, the man, you love your wife, and you, the wife, you love, you honor, you respect your husband. When children grow up in such an environment, they are confident, they are loving, they treat people with empathy. They don't do things anyhow. They name their emotions.
Okay.
They name their emotions. You see that they are healthy. So the home front is very critical.
All right.
Very critical in raising children who are sound and not traumatized.
Okay. The greatest force on earth is love. Yeah. Isn't that how you put it? Yeah. I'm just paraphrasing. Words on marble. Well, it's still Flipside on Independent Television. We shall be going on this last break. And when we return, it will be time to wrap things up on the program. Please stay tuned.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program, Healthy Living. What is the kidney?
The kidney is an excretory organ in the body, which is for metabolism.
Tuberculosis affects many organs in the body, but the common ones it usually affects is the lungs.
Epilepsy is a neurological problem.
Okay.
It is an injury in the brain, which causes someone to begin to convulse, to go into fits.
It is curable, but the cure is a long-term thing.
If you eat well and avoid those risk factors that will make your immunity to be down, then the risk of contracting tuberculosis will be reduced.
If you're healthy, then you're wealthy.
ITV, certainly the best.
Does gender dynamics have anything to do with the way children express themselves violently?
Okay. When we talk about gender dynamics, or we can look at it from the aspect of gender norms, which kind of defines what behavior, what the society expects of
both
boys,
gender.
yes, of boys and girls,
Okay.
how boys should behave. These are behaviors that are acceptable for boys, and these are the behaviors that are acceptable for girls. You know, gender dynamics, gender norms have a role to play in when it comes to this issue of violence, both for a child that is predisposed to being violent and the victim, the recipient of violence.
Okay.
For instance, in the society, there is this belief that boys are supposed to be strong. Boys are not supposed to show weakness. They are supposed to be dominant. And sometimes this can encourage violence in boys.
But aren't boys strong?
Yes.
Naturally.
Boys are, but there are always exceptions. You know, there's a book by James Dobson,
Okay.
Bringing Up Boys, that talks about the characteristics of a boy. No, that I will encourage all parents with male children to read that book. He also has one that for the girls, Bringing Up Girls.
Yes.
He said something in that book. He said that boys, the way boys, because of the genetic makeup of boys, I don't want to go into much explanation
details,
because of time.
Yeah.
That you see that boys, they play a lot, they are strong. Biologically, boys are different from girls. The way boys, the way they want to dominate, you see them when they are young, they want to climb, they are always doing things that will even make them sustain injuries.
Yeah.
He said it's normal for boys, but there are always exceptions. He said that while his son was growing up, that there was a particular child, his son's best friend, that doesn't fit into that category.
Circle, yeah.
He was more reserved, more calm. You know, sometimes society frown at boys that are like that, but the truth of the matter is that in as much as boys is typical, there are some behavior that are typical of boys.
Yeah.
But there are some that doesn't fit into that definition. It doesn't make them
less of boys.
Yes, it doesn't make them less of being a man or they are not, you understand? But we shouldn't give them or label them. So some people are
I guess those are just societal stereotypes.
Yes, they are societal stereotypes.
Yeah.
So now, how these gender stereotypes or gender norms can influence the behavior is that there are times boys, they will be taught to, the society can teach them to normalize violence. Then on the other hand, on the other side, girls may be more socialized. Yes, that's the word I was trying to look for. Girls may be more socialized to condone or to be passive or to be submissive. There are times whereby a boy will do a certain thing. People will tell you, leave him now, he's a boy child. Then when a girl do that same thing, they'll say, you are a girl, don't you know? Now, it's fine for us to teach our children how they should behave. But that doesn't mean that we should encourage violent behavior in our children, either boys or girls. Okay. Then for boys, another downside in the sense that though society may encourage boys to be dominant, to be assertive, to express themselves, to express their masculinity, then sometimes it can also be a disadvantage to them, because boys sometimes when they are victims of violence or bullying,
and they cry out,
most times they don't even speak out, because if you speak out, society will say that you are too weak.
Weakling.
So even when they are victims, boys may not want. In fact, girls are more likely to speak up against abuse compared to boys. Because society will say, even sometimes maybe it's a girl that's kind of bullied or kind of beats up that boy. Sometimes they will ask you, now again, I beat you. Even the parents, sometimes the parents will say, okay, go and show me that boy. You are a man, you have to, some parents make some of these statements. So sometimes boys will not internalize these statements. So when they are victims of either physical abuse or sexual abuse, they will not want to speak up because the society will see them as weak.
That's weak, okay.
So we have to correct some of these things.
Yes, I actually do hope we're able to correct some of these things, because somehow they are shaping our, views and perspectives to life. All right, let's examine this particular one. What are the warning signs that a student may be at risk of engaging in violent behavior? Mercy.
Okay.
Are there any warning signs?
Part of the signs is when a child who is naturally outgoing, a child is withdrawn, a child that normally participates in class activities, and suddenly the child is not interested again anymore in her.
Loses
interest in things. The child like being alone. The child is just expressing himself or herself, in anger over little issues. You know that something
is wrong somewhere.
Underlying that kind of behavior. And another thing we must always look at, any behavior, any negative behavior we see in children, there's a why. There is a why. I think teachers should be very, very, intentional
observant,
in understanding their students. Last week I was in a school, I do school outreaches, and I was in the proprietor's office, and one of the teachers came and he was like, this particular boy, he was just venting, this particular boy. I looked at him, I kept quiet. Fortunately, myself and the teacher, we went to that class to do something, and the boy came in. And when that boy came in, I look at the boy, naturally he's a very calm boy. I was quiet, and the next thing, the teacher was aggressive, It was just like, this school, is either you leave this school or I will leave this school. So I said, calm down, calm down. I look at the boy, I said, calm down, sir. That's the part of the teacher anyway, that don't pay attention to him. You never can tell what this child is going through. Never can tell if you can just be patient and meet him later. Because after the teacher left this class, I went to meet the boy and I spoke with him. So there are some people that are really going through stuff you don't understand. You just want to pick on them. Maybe they didn't answer you. Maybe there's something you expect of them and they didn't, do that thing. You just feel that they are stubborn. No, there is a why behind every action. So a lot of children are going through a lot. They're going through a lot. I met somebody that told me something that the parents didn't know at all. I was like, please help me, I need help. So you see them reacting or overreacting or not acting at all. It's not normal. Something is behind it. So when you see children who normally do things, maybe their school, their academic work, they are no longer meeting up.
Naturally given to.
Yes, they don't do their assignments. They write tests. They used to get 50 over 50. Now they have 25. You know that something is wrong. So if the teachers and parents can, pay attention to the students, you know that you are not just teaching for money. You are shaping destinies.
Yeah.
You are shaping destiny. You are imparting the next generation. You should be able to calm down and look at these children. When you notice anything, get them to talk to you, get them to know what they are going through.
All
I
right.
believe, yes, it's going to help the children.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that will lead me to the next question. And I'm also glad you are in the field of teaching and instructing, right? Now, what training do you think teachers should receive to be able to identify and respond to violent tendencies in children?
Wow, that's very good take, yes. Teachers really need to be trained. I was telling Abigail behind the scene that there is a school that invited me to talk to their teachers. And teacher-student relationship. Teachers really, and unfortunately, schools don't pay attention to these things. They feel it's nothing. And we have few people who have this passion for this younger generation. They are very few. So I think school owners, the government, they should please, I'm begging, they should train their teachers on emotional intelligence.
Emotional
very
intelligence.
Important, yes.
Okay.
Emotional intelligence, to be able to know how to react, how to act.
How to identify first.
Beautiful, thank you.
Okay.
How to identify what you see. Another thing they should also train teachers on is conflict resolution. Some teachers don't know how to handle issues when issues are brought to them. So conflict is a whole lot, of course.
Okay.
Yes. Teach your teachers, train them. Bring resource persons to train them on, conflict resolution.
Okay.
So those two aspects
Yes.
are very, very critical in raising, Another thing they should also teach teachers is the awareness.
Okay.
Yes, they should create that awareness that things like this happen.
Okay.
So they should be, proactive. They should be ready with that, with that mindset, with that, that
Consciousness.
Consciousness, yes, that consciousness. They know that, when they see a particular student, they know that, no, something is not right. Why? Because they've been trained.
Okay.
There's an adage that says, if you don't train them, don't blame them. So a lot of teachers, they are not functioning where they are not doing their jobs where they just feel it's just to teach because they are not trained. Teachers need to be trained holistically in this aspect so that they'll be able to help the next generation in this particular issue of violence.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mercy. Yes, I was going to ask you a question. In fact, just before you say what you have in mind, okay? She made mention of emotional intelligence and conflict resolution. Now, do you think it's realistic to incorporate that into our curriculum?
Yes, that's even what I wanted to say in addition. When we talk about training for teachers, teachers should be trained with the essential techniques that is needed for them to be able to identify and respond to violent tendencies within the school environment. As teachers, it's not just about teaching, like she said, it's not just about teaching your subject. You might be a guru. You might be good in your subject area. In fact, you might be able to give them all the knowledge they deserve. But aside from that, one thing that teachers should know is that you are not just teaching the subject content, but you are influencing their life positively.
Okay.
So teachers should be trained on effective classroom management. No, one of the ways to curb violence, because there are times violence can take place in the classroom. I have seen a video. I think it was even this week I saw that video of some student. The boy was resting his head on the table, on the desk. And some of his classmates, they started putting some things, writing some notes on his back. They placed it on the back. So the teacher walked in and saw that. There's a way the teacher was able to kind of de-escalate, bring that issue. And she was able to talk to them. And I believe that in fact, the words of wisdom that she shared with that classroom, that I believe that their lives will be forever changed.
So you mean she didn't flog, she didn't spank?
She didn't flog them, she just used dialogue. She was able to appeal to their reasoning. And many of them, they started feeling remorseful about their action. So teachers should be trained on essential life skills. In fact, the schools, like you said, should introduce social emotional learning, SEL, childhood educators will call it SEL, social emotional learning. And it should be integrated into the curriculum. Now, this social emotional learning teaches children about empathy, resilience, critical thinking skills, emotional regulation skills, conflict management. So this should be introduced, as a matter of fact, into the curriculum. So teachers should be trained on how to respond in cases of violence. There are some teachers that don't know how to manage conflict within the school environment. Some of them have a favorite student, or you understand, they want to support.
Personal favorites.
Yes, even while I was in the educational sector, I have seen teachers that will deliberately say, I will not enter a particular class to teach because I don't like the students.
Wow.
I have seen teachers do that. I have seen teachers that, like, they keep malice. In fact, it's not when we talk about this issue of bullying, it's not only students or peers.
Yeah.
There are teachers that bully children. And that should also be addressed. There are some teachers that are bullies. They will pick on a child. I remember when I was growing up, there was this, I think it was cultural dance or something. A particular teacher said that I will never participate. I don't know why she picked on me, why she didn't want me to participate. So a senior student now called me and said, okay, you do this dance, can you do it? I said, I can do it. She said that, you dance well, so why doesn't she want you to include you? There are some teachers that they just pick on a student. I don't know the reason, the personal reason they have against that student. So teachers need to be trained. It's not as a teacher, you are a guardian. You are not just a teacher, you are a counselor. In fact, you are like a therapist to the children in your class. You should be able to spot when they are having emotional issues. There are some issues they will be having at home. You as a teacher should be able to spot those issues and know how to come in or how to bring the management into it. I remember while I was still in the educational sector, I've seen some students that cannot walk up to their parents to tell them some challenges they were having. There was a student that I was able to help. She was having a particular health challenge, something very personal. So when she brought that issue to me, I was able to solve it. And even till this day, she's always grateful for that particular experience. It was an health challenge. She couldn't speak to her parents about it. I told her, okay, these are the process we are going to, since it's something that has to do with the females. I told her I would not want to relate this to myself alone, because tomorrow something might happen and people will ask me, who did you take consent from before you took this girl for checkup? So I had to involve the principal, who was a female, and she gave me the go ahead and say, okay, do this. At the end of the day, our mother got to know about what we did, and she was even thanking me that, thank you for taking the bold steps. So as a teacher, you should be able to spot some issues, emotional or psychological issues, that the children in your class are going through.
I totally agree with you, because I, for one, believe that not everyone belongs in the teaching circle. Yeah. You understand? I feel like some persons are just in the teaching sector because of the need to make ends meet, right? So
because there's no job.
There are no jobs, you understand? But I feel like if you don't have a passion for children, then you have absolutely no business teaching. You understand?
That's why they should be trained.
Yes, training is very important. Yes, and when you talk of training, the first thing that comes to my mind is, the teacher training.
No, not the teacher training.
Okay.
Training them on these aspects, this, therapeutic aspect that she said, that all teachers should be therapists.
Well, isn't it possible to incorporate it into the teacher training college and stuff?
It's very, very, and I think it's one of the things they do. They must be teaching them those stuff. But training. It should be re-emphasized. It should be repeated, because this is a real life. This is a normal thing you meet every day. So this particular aspect of relationship between teachers and students, should be re-emphasized. At least every time they should do it twice.
Okay.
To keep the teachers on their toes, to know that, yes, you don't just maltreat students. You don't just follow students the way you see them. Things are happening.
Is it possible to have disciplinary boards that monitor teachers and ensure that they are able to, live up to expectation in this regard? Especially as regards, practicing what they learned in their teacher training, colleges. Is it possible to set up such,
I think that most schools have that in place. There is a way they checkmate the teachers. Like when I was still in the educational sector, there's something they do at every second term. They will tell the student to write about the teacher. Now, when the student assesses that teacher, it's not just about your teaching. It's about your character, the things you say, your dressing,
and the way
everything.
You relate to them, true.
The stories you even share. It was even sometimes when you read some of them, because I was opportunity to be part of the disciplinary committee at a certain point. There are some things that you will even hear, and you'll be surprised that a teacher said this. There are some things that some teachers will say to a student that even a teacher is not even supposed to say that thing to a child. I have seen teachers that go to class, they won't teach the subject area, they'll begin to talk about their life. They will tell stories, what they did when they were, in fact, some of them will even talk about their activities with their spouse in the classroom. So I believe that all schools have a way they checkmate. If at any school that is not willing to do that, that means they don't want to grow. So schools should have a way, as you are assessing the work, the academic work of the children, you should be able to assess the work of the teachers, not just about what they teach, also in terms of their character, in terms of their moral upbringing. So I know a particular school that said that if you want to teach in that school, you must be someone with a kind of you must have a kind of a
high
strong,
IQ.
moral
compass. Okay.
Because sometimes there are some teachers that can mislead the younger ones. So
okay.
there are some schools that do that. They checkmate the teachers.
All right, Mercy, is there any correlation between substance abuse and violence amongst young people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely, when you take alcohol or you take drugs, it alters your system. Yes, alcohol and drugs is not just a coping mechanism, because I met a youngster who told me that, I asked him, why are you taking drugs? He said, that's my coping mechanism. One other guy was telling me that when things are going wrong, he just wants he doesn't want to think about anything.
He wants to clear his mind.
Yes, it will just be calm. Why some, you know, when you take, this thing has capacity. When you take the one that is beyond your strength, your capacity, you now start
begin to react.
A young guy carried bottle and was destroying everything. One even stabbed the mom to